Welcome to the deep dive.
Mhm.
I'm really excited to get into today's topic. It's one of those stories, that's kind of grabbing headlines, but there's just so much more underneath. We're going to dive into the core insights, maybe find some surprising facts, and hopefully some genuine aha moments that, leave you feeling really well informed. It's a universal truth, isn't it? Even the most anticipated talents, the ones with all the hype, they rarely start perfectly. Whether it's a new job, a new project, stepping onto a big stage, those first moments, they can often be messy, right? Full of struggle. You probably felt that yourself, that initial friction.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the pressure to perform right out of the gate can be just immense, and it often hides the natural process, sometimes a messy process of learning and adapting. Everyone goes through it, no matter how talented they are. It's easy to forget growth isn't always like a straight line.
Exactly. And today we're diving deep into just that kind of moment, but in the world of pro sports. We're talking about the highly touted Chicago Bears quarterback, Caleb Williams, and his, well, recent training camp struggles. Our mission with this deep dive is to take you behind those headlines. We're going to use our sources to understand not just what happened, but, why it really matters. And maybe most importantly, what the team's philosophy is for turning these early stumbles into future success.
Right. And our main source for this is a really insightful article from the Chicago Sun-Times. It came out Friday, July 25th, 2025. The title kind of says it all. Red alert. QB Caleb Williams struggles inside the 20. Bears vow to not waste any failure. Gives us a really current snapshot of what's going on.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Setting the scene. It's the third training camp practice for the Bears. And according to that Sun-Times report, the feeling from the coaches about the quarterback stats for the day, well, it must have landed with a thud. Oof, sounds like not a great day.
No, definitely doesn't sound like a banner day. The article really highlights that Caleb Williams continued to struggle, and specifically, his issues were really popping up during red zone drills. Now, for maybe folks less familiar with the X's and O's, the red zone, that's that critical area inside the opponent's 20-yard line. It's where the field shrinks, everything tightens up, every pass, every read, every decision needs absolute precision. So, yeah, early struggles there can be pretty telling. There's just less room for error. The defense has less ground to cover.
And it gets really specific. There was this 5-play sequence during a 7-on-7 drill that's, no linemen, just skill players practicing passing plays in the red zone. It just perfectly highlights the problems. Picture this. First, a dropped pass by receiver Olamide Zacchaeus. Okay, maybe not on Williams. But then an incomplete pass to tight end Cole Kmet. Then another incompletion, this time to receiver Romo Dunze. And then the first interception, pass tipped by cornerback Terrell Smith, safety Jaquan Brisker grabs it. And to top it all off, the second interception, linebacker TJ Edwards just picks it off. 5 plays. Wow.
Yeah, that sequence really paints a stark picture of the immediate challenges he's facing right now. And just to underscore how much of a struggle it was, Williams' first completion in the red zone, and this is across both 7-on-7 and 11-on-11, the full team drills, it only came on his 10th pass attempt.
His 10th pass.
10th pass, yeah. That's a significant hurdle for any quarterback, let alone one expected to lead the offense, especially with his kind of college pedigree.
10th pass for one completion in the red zone. Whew. That's tough. And for Bears fans, the article mentions this sort of familiar pattern
Yeah.
with past QB struggles. That must create some anxiety. When you're looking at this, how do you tell the difference between like normal early camp rust and something that might be a genuine red flag for a top pick?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's exactly what offensive coordinator Declan Doyle was asked. The article notes his response was pretty telling. He just said, I think that's a great question, which, kind of acknowledges how tricky that line is for coaches early in camp, especially for a rookie. There's always a learning curve, always. But it's the nature of the struggles, maybe, and whether they keep happening. That's often the key indicator. Are they like communication breakdowns, physical errors, reading of the defense, or a mix?
And what's really striking here is the sense of urgency. The new head coach, Ben Johnson, he apparently told the players when they reported, this is a race now. Everything's a race. He's stressed needing enough reps in these, 6.5 weeks before week 1 kicks off. It's not just about getting good. It sounds like it's about getting good now.
Yeah, that urgency Ben Johnson mentioned, it's not just talk, it seems to be playing out on the field. I mean, the report says in all 3 practices so far, the Bears' defense has actually looked superior to the offense. Now, that definitely adds to the offensive struggles, right? They're up against a strong unit, but it also just highlights that steep learning curve for Williams in this new offense. They got to catch up.
Right. But here's the core of their coaching philosophy, and this is where the deep dive really gets interesting for me. Doyle's key takeaway from these struggles, the thing that really stands out, is this quote: "The biggest thing is you don't waste any failure on an individual play." Just think about that. It's not just, oops, fix that. It's about systematically pulling every single lesson you can from every misstep. It feels like a really deliberate, almost like analytical approach to mistakes. That mindset seems incredibly valuable whether you're coaching football or, I don't know, launching a startup.
It absolutely is. And the plan, according to the Sun-Times, is exactly that. Go back, watch the tape with the players, so meticulously review the film
Yeah.
to clean up some of the intricate details of what they're asking players to do in the red zone. So it's not about ignoring the failures. It's about dissecting them methodically
Yep.
to build, hopefully, a stronger foundation.
Okay, that sounds like the ideal approach. But, this is the NFL. It's a cutthroat world, especially with a #1 pick. How much of this positive approach is, like, genuinely the belief? And how much is just what coaches have to say publicly? Is there sort of a hidden clock ticking maybe faster than they let on? Because despite this philosophy, the source still emphasizes these red zone struggles as being particularly concerning. So why? Why is the red zone such a big deal here?
That's a fair point, and the context of when this is happening is key. Doyle himself admitted he'd be feeling a little different if these struggles were happening, say, during a mid-season practice week. He highlighted that mid-July, during play installation, this is the time for these learning moments. It's almost like the designated R&D phase, you could say. So the coaches seem committed to creating an environment where mistakes are, opportunities for growth, not just panic buttons. This fits with that whole team mindset. The article mentions players being ready to practice, focused, eager to work, a positive spin from the coaches.
Okay, so back to the why. Why is the red zone such a critical measuring stick here? What makes it different from, say, midfield?
Well, the article makes an interesting distinction. It points out that while the red zone execution is shaky, the Bears have apparently seen improvement in Williams' pre-snap work. So things like his huddle calls, getting the team to the line quickly, communicating audibles, changing the play based on the defense, that stuff seems to be getting better. The challenges, it appears, are happening more with the ball in his hand. So it suggests the execution under pressure in those tight spaces, that's the current bottleneck.
And here's where it gets really fascinating, almost ironic, actually. Williams was apparently one of the best red zone quarterbacks in college last year, statistically speaking. The Bears, the article says, scored touchdowns on like 62.1% of their red zone trips in 2024, seventh best in the NFL. Their problem then wasn't scoring in the red zone. It was just getting there often enough. Only 4 teams scored fewer points overall. So this current struggle is actually an area where he previously excelled, which just adds another wrinkle, doesn't it?
It really does. That shift is significant. It kind of suggests the jump in complexity, maybe the speed, the tighter windows from college to the pros is hitting him differently. And look, the importance of those red zone scores, it's undeniable. Guard Joe Thuney guys won 2 Super Bowls, Chiefs and Patriots. He put it bluntly in the article. Touchdowns are at a premium. Anytime you can get 7 instead of 3, it's great. And he ties it to the league's parity. Everything's so competitive, every point matters. That TD versus field goal difference, it can absolutely swing games.
Yeah, no kidding. And the Bears aren't just, like, hoping he gets better. They have actual targets. The goal is for Williams to complete 70% of his passes, both in games and practices. And the article notes he hasn't hit that mark yet in these early camp sessions. So it's a clear benchmark.
And the red zone itself, it just has these unique demands. Plays inside the 20. They're a massive test of offensive efficiency precisely because of those cramped quarters. There's less field to work with, sideline to sideline, end zone to line of scrimmage. Passing windows are tiny. Defenders are right there. Everything has to happen fast, accurately, and perfectly on time. It's a real test of a QB's touch, decision-making, nerve, really.
And hearing from a player, receiver DJ Moore, he kind of explained it simply. If you're on time, when it's his own defense, the ball will get to you.
He also confirmed the team understands the checks for man coverage, so it sounds like the players get the precision required. They're working on it.
Oh, you can feel the urgency from the players, too. Moore's comment sums it up perfectly. It's going to take about the 6 weeks or sooner. Then he added, with the emphasis, it better be sooner. That's just the reality, isn't it? That NFL clock is ticking down hard towards week 1. Yeah. Ultimately, offensive coordinator Doyle's warning, right there in the article, it's crystal clear. The biggest thing is, there is a problem if you repeat mistakes. The next time we run that play, if we make the same mistake, that's an issue. That perfectly captures that whole don't waste any failure idea. It's all about learning, adapting, and showing, Real, measurable progress. Everyone, like the article says, will be watching closely. But maybe the key thing they'll be looking for is evidence that those early failures are actually being turned into lessons learned.
Exactly. That's the whole story here, isn't it? It's not about being perfect on day 3. It's about the process. Can you improve? Can you learn from it?
So, wrapping this up, what does it all mean for Caleb Williams and the Bears?
Well, it's a classic situation, right? High stakes player, early challenges, and a coaching staff laser focused on turning every single misstep into a learning opportunity. We've seen the pressure, the specific struggles, especially in that critical red zone area where precision is everything, and this really clear philosophy. Don't waste any failure. Yeah, and this brings up, I think, an important question for you, for our listener. In a world that so often demands immediate perfection, sports, work, our own lives maybe, what can we learn from this mindset? This idea of embracing and really analyzing early failures instead of just, dismissing them or hiding them. Could it be that these early failures in training camp, these awkward, tough learning moments, could they actually be the most valuable lessons for Williams and the Bears down the road? Could they be setting them up for real sustained success when it actually counts? Perhaps, the biggest wins are really built on the lessons you dig out from those early stumbles. Makes you think.